They mocked my daughter's little hobby. Then a university program changed everything. The knot in my stomach started forming the moment the email arrived. An invitation to Thanksgiving dinner at my sister Claire's house. It arrived a little over a month ago, but the feeling of dread was already a familiar friend, settling deep in my gut like a stone. Every year it was the same. Forced smiles, polite questions with sharp edges, and the subtle, persistent pressure to conform to a mold we just didn't fit. My daughter Luna was already 16 now, not a little girl I could shield entirely. She was quiet, introverted, preferring the company of wires and circuit boards to the forced chatter of distant relatives. Our small house wasn't much, but the garage had become her sanctuary, cluttered with tools, spare parts, and the humming promise of half-finished projects. Right now, her pride and joy was a small, articulated robot arm she'd built from scratch, sitting on her workbench like a metallic spider. She'd even rigged up a tiny camera to its end, controlling it with a repurposed gaming controller. It was intricate, complex, and to me, breathtakingly beautiful. Luna had quietly entered it into a national robotics competition a few months back, a secret between us. Neither of us really expected anything to come of it, but it felt important that she tried. Mom. Luna's voice pulled me back to the present. She stood in the doorway of the kitchen, holding the outfit she'd chosen. A simple pair of dark jeans and a practical, comfortable hoodie, the same one she'd worn to the regional science fair 2 years ago where she'd won a small, ignored ribbon for a coding project. It was slightly too short in the sleeves now. I forced a smile, trying to project a calm I didn't feel. Hey, sweetie. That looks comfortable. She chewed on her lip, a habit she had when she was nervous. Is it okay? Aunt Claire always says things. My heart ached. I walked over and smoothed the front of her hoodie. Aunt Claire says a lot of things. You're perfect just the way you are, Luna. You focus on being you. That's all you need to do. But I don't want to stick out, she mumbled, pulling at a loose thread. You'll stick out because you're brilliant and kind, not because of your clothes, I said, squeezing her hand. I wanted to wrap her in a bubble, protect her from their eyes, their whispered judgments, the way they made her feel less than because she wasn't a carbon copy of their expectations. But I also felt that stubborn pull of obligation, the ingrained family duty that said you had to show up, had to be part of it, no matter how much it hurt. Maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. A foolish hope, I knew, but it lingered. We got in my aging sedan, the engine rumbling a familiar tune of protest. The drive across town to Claire's affluent suburb was quiet, filled only with the low hum of the radio and the louder hum of my anxiety. I glanced at Luna in the passenger seat, her gaze fixed out the window, her profile sharp against the passing landscape. She looked small, vulnerable, and I felt a fresh wave of determination. I wouldn't let them dim that quiet light inside her. I would protect her. Somehow. Even if my usual method was just gritting my teeth and enduring. Claire's house loomed ahead, a monument to manicured success. Large, imposing, and always perfect. The driveway was already lined with expensive cars, sleek SUVs, and polished sedans that dwarfed my own vehicle. Music drifted from the open windows, a little too loud, a little too cheerful. This wasn't about connection. It was a performance. A reminder of who had made it and who hadn't. We had definitely not made it by their standards. We pulled into the only remaining spot, near a landscaper's van temporarily parked down the street. Taking a deep breath, I turned off the ignition. Ready? Luna gave a small, shaky nod. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the apprehension swirling there. My resolve solidified. We would get through this. Together. Stepping out of the car, the crisp autumn air felt suddenly heavy. The scent of roasted turkey and expensive candles wafted from the house. Laughter spilled from an open window, sounding brittle and forced to my ears. Claire met us at the sprawling front door, her blonde hair perfectly coiffed, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her smile was wide, practiced, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Grace. Luna. There you are. She pulled me into a quick, stiff hug, her cheek barely touching mine. Then she turned her attention to Luna. Her smile faltered for a microsecond, almost imperceptible, but I saw it. Luna, wow, getting so big. Look at you. The words sounded okay, but the tone, the way her eyes scanned Luna top to bottom, felt like a physical assessment. Come on in, everyone's in the living room. As we stepped inside, the warm, overly perfumed air closed in. Relatives turned, offering various degrees of greeting. Some genuine smiles from a few younger cousins, mostly polite nods or dismissive glances from the older generation. Grandmother Sarah sat regally on a large armchair, the matriarch surveying her domain. Her silver hair was swept back impeccably, her face set in an expression of mild, perpetual disapproval. She looked at us over the rim of her glasses. Late again, Grace. Her voice was a low, steady judgment. Traffic was a bit heavy, Mom, I replied, though the drive had been smooth. No point arguing. Uncle Robert, seated beside her, grunted in acknowledgement, his eyes hidden behind dark, expensive sunglasses indoors. He didn't say anything, but his posture, arms crossed, jaw set, spoke volumes. He valued hard work, traditional trades, anything you could build with your hands in a real job. Luna's kind of building? Not on his radar. Aunt Margaret drifted over, a glass of wine in hand, her expression a mask of concerned sympathy. Grace, dear, how are you managing? You look a little tired. That job of yours must be just exhausting. And Luna still tinkering away, are we? You know, my friend Carol's daughter is going to nursing school. Such a practical choice. Her words were coated in sugar, but the bitterness was undeniable. She loved hinting that my choices, single motherhood, a less prestigious career, were burdens, and Luna's hobbies were simply impractical distractions from finding a suitable path. Cousin Jason, Aunt Claire's eldest, strolled past, flashing a blinding smile. He was home from college, handsome, confident, exuding an air of destined success. Hey, Aunt Grace. Hey, Luna. Good to see you guys. He paused, looking at Luna's hoodie. Cool. Uniform? He chuckled, clearly thinking it was some kind of joke. He was studying finance, already lined up with a top internship for the summer. The golden child, polished and approved. We found a quiet corner, a small island in the sea of bustling relatives. Luna stood close to me, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I saw her eyes darting around, taking it all in, the effortless ease of everyone else, the subtle ways we were marked as different. I wished we could just disappear, but we were here now. We just had to get through it. Dinner was eventually called. The sprawling dining table was a work of art, crystal glasses, fine china, an elaborate centerpiece. The seating felt strategic, placing us within earshot of the main conversational currents, ensuring we couldn't completely fade into the background. Luna was seated between me and a distant cousin I barely knew. The first course was served. Polite chatter filled the air, dominated by discussions of careers, vacations, and the achievements of the younger generation, mostly Jason's, of course. He spoke confidently about market trends and investment strategies, his parents beaming with pride. Then, the inevitable pivot. Aunt Claire, from her seat at the head of the table, turned her attention to Luna. So, Luna, she said, her voice carrying slightly, drawing the attention of those nearby. Still playing with your robots? The way she said playing, the slight tilt of her head, instantly diminished years of dedication and complex problem-solving into a childish pastime. Grandmother Sarah sighed dramatically. Oh yes, the tinkering. Luna, dear, you really should be thinking about your future. College is just around the corner. Are you focusing on subjects that will actually lead to a career? Something sensible. Her implication was clear. Robotics was not sensible. Uncle Robert grunted in agreement. Need to learn things you can actually use. Aunt Margaret leaned in, a picture of false concern. My friend's son, the one doing computer science? He says those things are just toys unless you're at a top university. And even then, maybe focus on something with more social interaction. You don't want to be stuck in a basement your whole life, do you? It was a direct hit, targeting Luna's introversion and her passion in one go. Luna's shoulders stiffened. She stared down at her plate, her fork pushing peas around. She didn't look up. I saw the familiar signs, the tightened jaw, the rapid blinking. She was trying not to cry. Before I could formulate a calm, measured defense, or perhaps just another excuse, Jason chimed in, laughing. Oh yeah, I remember having to do something with circuits in a physics class. It was way too complicated for me, honestly. Good thing I'm sticking to finance, where things actually make sense and, make money. He paused, looking directly at Luna with a condescending smirk. Some people just aren't cut out for the technical stuff, I guess. That was it. My blood boiled. He wasn't just being compared to her. He was actively putting her down, trivializing her passion and intellect under the guise of a self-deprecating anecdote. Luna finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper, directed at her plate. It's not just playing. I built a... Aunt Claire cut her off smoothly, her voice loud and cheerful as she addressed the table. Oh, did everyone try the cranberry sauce? I used a new recipe this year. It's just divine. Luna, honey, why don't you be a dear and help Cousin Mark clear some of these plates? The men are about to carve the turkey. It was a dismissal, pure and simple. A clear signal that Luna's voice, her contribution, herself, wasn't valued at this table. That her place was in quiet service, not in discussing her achievements or interests. I saw Cousin Riley, further down the table, look up at Luna, her young face full of curiosity, then look back down quickly as her mother gave her a sharp look. I felt a hot wave of anger wash over me, pushing back the years of conditioned silence. I wanted to stand up, flip the table, scream at them all. But I saw Luna's face, flushed with embarrassment, already starting to push her chair back to help clear plates. My instinct to protect her, to not make things worse for her in that moment, kept me rooted. Just survive the meal, I told myself. Survive the meal, then we leave. I gave Luna a tiny, encouraging nod, a silent promise that we would talk about this later, that I saw her, that I was angry for her. Just as Luna was about to pick up the first stack of plates, a sudden sound cut through the polite murmur of the dinner table, the distinct, expensive growl of an engine pulling into the driveway, followed by the crunch of tires on gravel. Everyone paused. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Heads turned towards the large bay window that overlooked the front of the house. A sleek, dark sedan, the kind you only saw in luxury car commercials, pulled up and came to a smooth stop right in front of the house. It wasn't anyone they knew. Whispers erupted briefly, quickly followed by silence as the driver's side door opened. A woman stepped out. She was tall, impeccably dressed in professional attire, a sharp blazer, tailored pants, simple but elegant shoes. She carried a slim leather portfolio or tablet case. Her posture was confident, her gaze direct as she looked towards the house. None of us recognized her. She didn't hesitate or look around uncertainly. She walked with purpose towards the front door. Aunt Claire looked utterly bewildered, halfway out of her seat. Grandmother Sarah straightened her back, her eyes narrowed. The entire dining room, moments before filled with our family's toxic dynamics, was now frozen, captivated by the unexpected arrival. The woman didn't knock. She simply walked towards the open door. Aunt Claire, regaining her composure, though her voice was tight, hurried to intercept her just inside the doorway. "Excuse me," Claire said, her voice overly sweet, the kind she used with strangers she wanted to impress or manage. "Can I help you?" The woman paused, offering a brief, polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yes, thank you. I'm Dr. Victoria Sterling. I apologize for the intrusion. I was trying to reach a Grace and Luna Hayes regarding Luna's application to our program. I haven't been able to get through by phone, and I had this address from the application materials. I happened to be in the area today, so I decided to stop by, hoping to catch them." Her explanation was concise, professional, and to the point. It wasn't the school giving information. She had the address herself and took a chance on Thanksgiving Day. Before Claire could formulate a response, likely to dismiss her or say we weren't available, Dr. Sterling's gaze swept past Claire and landed on Luna, who was still standing by the table, plates forgotten in her hands, looking utterly bewildered. Dr. Sterling walked past Claire as if she were a piece of furniture, moving calmly but directly towards Luna. Claire's jaw literally dropped for a second before she quickly recovered, her face a mask of confusion and irritation, and followed a few steps behind. Dr. Sterling stopped in front of Luna, offering a warm, genuine smile this time, the kind that spoke of respect and recognition. She lowered herself slightly, meeting Luna's wide eyes. "Luna, hello," she said softly, her voice cutting through the absolute silence of the room. "My name is Dr. Victoria Sterling, from the Department of Engineering at prestigious university name. I was a judge for the national robotics competition you entered." Luna blinked, her mouth slightly open. The plates in her hands wobbled precariously. She glanced at me, completely lost. The entire family was watching, silent, eyes darting between Dr. Sterling, Luna, and me. Dr. Sterling pulled a tablet from her portfolio. On the screen was a detailed schematic of Luna's robot arm project. "Your submission, Luna," Dr. Sterling continued, her voice carrying a quiet authority, "particularly the multi-axis articulation system you designed and the efficiency of your power supply management. It was truly exceptional. Frankly, it showed a level of understanding and innovation we rarely see, even from undergraduates." She looked back up at Luna, her smile widening. "Your project stood out from over 1,000 entries nationwide. It was remarkable." She paused, letting her words sink in, watching Luna's stunned face. Then she stood fully, turning slightly to include me, though her focus remained primarily on Luna. "Luna, we would like to offer you a full scholarship to our Advanced Engineering Summer Program at the university. It's a fully funded program, tuition, housing, meals, travel. It's an intensive 8 weeks, working alongside professors and graduate students on cutting-edge research projects. It's a highly competitive program, and your work earned you a place." Silence. Heavy, absolute silence descended over the dining room. Forks clattered onto plates as people unconsciously dropped them. Jaws hung open. Every single eye was fixed on Dr. Sterling and Luna. Luna's face, moments ago flushed with embarrassment, was now pale with shock, her eyes wide as saucers. She finally managed to whisper, "My project?" "Yes, Luna," Dr. Sterling confirmed gently. "Your project. You have an extraordinary gift." The silence finally broke, not with applause, but with sputtering disbelief from the family. Grandmother Sarah found her voice first, thin with suspicion. Summer program? Is this legitimate?" Aunt Claire, her face tight with poorly concealed resentment, managed a strained laugh. "A summer camp? You came all this way for a summer camp." Uncle Robert just stared, his usual gruffness replaced by stunned silence. Aunt Margaret, ever the whisperer, leaned to her neighbor, her voice just loud enough to hear. "A scholarship? How convenient. Must know someone." The implication that it wasn't earned skill, but favoritism, hung in the air. Cousin Jason, his golden boy facade cracking, stared at the tablet in Dr. Sterling's hand, his eyes narrowed with blatant jealousy. In that moment, seeing their reactions, the immediate disbelief, the need to minimize Luna's achievement, the blatant envy, something snapped inside me. Years of quiet endurance, of trying to keep the peace, of hoping things would change, evaporated. Seeing Luna's stunned, vulnerable face, just moments after they had dismissed her and sent her to clear plates, ignited a fire I didn't know I had. I stepped fully forward, placing my arm firmly around Luna's shoulders. My voice was steady, clear, and carried the weight of years of silent frustration. "Yes," I said, my gaze sweeping across their shocked faces. "A university program. A prestigious university program offering a full scholarship based on her talent." I looked pointedly at Aunt Claire and Grandmother Sarah. "The same talent you just dismissed as playing with robots and a little hobby." I looked at Jason. "The same projects you compared unfavorably to your own more sensible pursuits." I looked at Aunt Margaret. "The same dedication you implied was just her hiding away." My voice didn't waver. "You didn't just underestimate her talent. You actively tried to diminish her. You made her feel small, awkward, and unworthy in a place that should have been safe. You did it today, and you've been doing it for years." I turned fully to Luna, squeezing her shoulder. "Luna, this is real. You earned this. Every hour in that garage, every failed circuit, every line of code, it led to this." Then I turned back to my family, my voice hardening. "We are leaving. Right now. Luna is accepting this scholarship, and we are walking out of this house. We will not spend another moment here where she is mocked, judged, and told that her dreams aren't worthwhile." Aunt Claire gasped. Grace, don't be dramatic. Grandmother Sarah looked furious. You're overreacting. It was just conversation. Overreacting. I challenged, a sharp edge to my voice. Is it overreacting to finally stand up for my daughter when she's being consistently cut down by the people who are supposed to support her? She's brilliant. She is seen. And she deserves to be celebrated, not belittled, especially not by her own family. I looked at Dr. Sterling. How soon does she need to leave? Dr. Sterling stepped forward calmly. The welcome dinner for the scholars is tonight. We have accommodation arranged near campus for her arrival. A car can be arranged to take her directly. I turned to Luna, my voice softening slightly, but my resolve firm. Sweetie, go get your coat and your bag from the car. And bring your robot arm if you want it with you tonight. Luna nodded, a mix of shock and dawning realization on her face. She moved quickly towards the front door. As she passed Cousin Riley, the younger girl offered a small, hesitant smile. Luna managed a small, genuine smile back. Aunt Claire was spluttering protests. Grandmother Sarah was fuming, crossing her arms tightly. Uncle Robert just watched, silent, his face unreadable. Aunt Margaret was whispering furiously to the person next to her. Grace waited by the door as Luna retrieved her few things. Dr. Sterling stood nearby, a calm, steady presence. When Luna returned, clutching her coat and a small backpack, Dr. Sterling smiled at her reassuringly. Are you sure, Luna? I asked softly, giving her one last chance, one last moment of choice. Luna looked at me, her eyes shining. The shy girl who had hunched her shoulders at the dinner table was still there, but something new flickered in her eyes, a spark of fierce pride, of validation. Yes, Mom. I'm sure. I want to go. I hugged her tightly, fiercely. Then go. This is your moment. I am so incredibly proud of you. I'll be right here, supporting you every step of the way. I stepped back. Dr. Sterling confirmed arrangements quietly. Then, together, Dr. Sterling and Luna walked out the front door. I watched them go. As Luna stepped out onto the porch, she paused for just a second. She turned back, her gaze sweeping over the silent, stunned faces of the family seated around the dinner table, visible through the large window. There was no defiance in her look, no anger. Just acknowledgement. A quiet recognition of who they were, and a silent understanding that she was no longer defined by their limited view of her. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She simply turned and walked towards the waiting car. The door of the sedan opened. Luna got in. The door closed. The engine purred to life. The sleek car pulled away from the curb and drove off down the street, carrying my daughter towards her future. I turned back into the house, facing the frozen tableau of my family. The silence was deafening. Aunt Claire looked outraged. Grandmother Sarah looked like she might explode. You see that? I said, my voice low but carrying. That's what happens when you try to keep someone small. They don't just stay put. They find wings. And they fly away. Aunt Claire scoffed, finding her voice again. Fly away? Please. It's just a summer camp. She'll be back. Maybe, I said, a small knowing smile playing on my lips. But she won't be the same girl who walked in here today. You didn't break her. You tried for years, but you failed. All you did was make her strong enough to leave. I didn't wait for a response. I walked to the foyer, picked up my coat, and walked out the door. I got into my car and drove away, leaving the expensive house, the untouched dinner, and the stunned, silent family behind. I didn't feel guilt. I felt liberation. My phone buzzed about 20 minutes later. It was a text from Dr. Sterling. A photo. Luna was standing in a bright, modern lobby, holding a sleek folder with her name on it. She was wearing the same slightly too small hoodie, but she stood straighter, her shoulders back, her head held high. Her smile was wide, genuine, lighting up her face. It wasn't the forced smile from earlier today. It was the smile of a girl who had just realized her own power. I stared at that photo for a long time after I got home. I thought about the years of quiet hurt, the times I had told myself I had to maintain family ties, even toxic ones. I thought about how close I had come, just minutes before Dr. Sterling arrived, to telling Luna to just keep her head down, get through dinner, pick our battles. But watching them dismiss her, watching her light dim, I had finally seen the truth. The battle wasn't about surviving their judgment. It was about refusing to accept it as our reality. That night, my small house felt different. Lighter. It wasn't weighed down by the anticipation of criticism or the residue of past hurts. It felt like a space of possibility. Luna called later that evening. Her voice was buzzing with excitement. "Mom, it's amazing here. The labs are incredible. And the other students, they're talking about quantum computing and AI and stuff I've only read about." Dr. Sterling introduced me to a professor who works on bio-inspired robotics, like things that move like animals. It's what I want to do. I listened, tears welling up in my eyes, tears of relief and overwhelming joy. "That's wonderful, sweetie. Absolutely wonderful. And Mom," she added, her voice lower, more thoughtful. They don't call it a hobby here." "No, Luna," I said softly. "They call it science. They call it engineering. They call it brilliant." We talked for a long time. About her first impressions, about the dinner she had just eaten with other scholars and professors, where her hoodie went unnoticed or was seen as normal, about the path stretching out before her. When we hung up, the silence in the house felt even more profound, but it was a peaceful silence, filled with hope. In the weeks and months that followed, Luna thrived in the program. She sent me photos of her projects, collaborating with teams, standing confidently next to complex machinery. Her shyness didn't disappear completely. It was part of who she was, but it was no longer a cage. It was simply a quiet strength. My family, predictably, reacted poorly. Aunt Claire sent texts trying to mend fences, but only by blaming me for the scene I had caused. Grandmother Sarah had a few relatives call me, expressing concern about Luna being so far away or the intensity of the program. Aunt Margaret posted passive-aggressive updates on social media about the importance of family sticking together through difficult times. Jason posted about getting a prestigious award for his finance work, clearly trying to recapture the spotlight. I didn't engage. Their attempts to pull us back into their orbit, to regain control of the narrative, felt pathetic now. Luna graduated from the summer program with honors. She received letters of recommendation that spoke glowingly of her potential. She walked taller. She spoke with more confidence, not just about robotics, but about her ideas, her opinions. The girl who used to shrink into herself was gone, replaced by a young woman who knew her worth. Later that year, Luna applied for early admission to several top engineering universities. She got into her dream school with a significant scholarship. It wasn't the same scholarship Dr. Sterling had offered for the summer program, but it was a direct result of the opportunities and validation that program had provided. Dr. Sterling even wrote her a personal recommendation. One evening, months after that Thanksgiving dinner, Luna and I were in her room, looking at university brochures. She paused, looking up from the glossy pages. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" she asked quietly, referring to the family. I considered it for a moment. Maybe, or maybe not. But does it matter anymore? She thought about it, then smiled, a real, unburdened smile. "No, Mom, I don't think it does." Not really. That was the moment I knew, with absolute certainty, that we had done the right thing. That my daughter's happiness, her self-worth, her future, was infinitely more valuable than the approval of people who couldn't see her, who refused to celebrate who she was. They tried to make her feel small at that dinner table. They tried to remind her of her place. But a different kind of power arrived that night, not in a grand display, but in the form of quiet recognition from someone who saw her talent, her brilliance. And in that moment, everything shifted. Luna wasn't just given an opportunity. She was given the freedom to finally be herself, away from the shadows of judgment. We haven't looked back. My daughter is thriving. She is building her own world, piece by piece, circuit by circuit. And she is doing it not because someone allowed her to, but because she earned it. And everyone who ever doubted her, who ever tried to dim her light, is left watching. That Thanksgiving, we didn't just leave a dinner. We left a lifetime of being told we weren't enough. And we gained something far more precious: freedom.